Hello again, YouTube. This is Richard Clue from richardclue.wordpress.com. Today I want to talk about your world as a character and setting up your world as a character and kind of thinking about your world as a character. In I try to do this, and it's kind of hard to remember sometimes because there's two different ways I see it to do a world. So you can do your world as being stagnant. So your world can have no parts. Your world can be basically, you're in the desert doesn't play a huge part in the story. That's really all there is. And then there's another way where your world changes and evolves with the character. So if your story is really character driven, your world might not matter quite so much. Your world might not need to change. But if your world is going to be changing and doing things, you have to think of it like a character. And I almost think of it as a character in both perspectives, because even if characters stay the same, it's important that they have features, that they feel real. So your world has to have details to it. There has to be places that people talk about that aren't shown in the story, things that people mention that aren't shown in the story. You know, like, it's a real world. Maybe in saying dropping F-bombs, they say some weird thing that starts with an F, but it's really just a play on the F-bomb. So that makes the world feel real. Just by changing language. Maybe everyone from some part of your world says things in a question form. That would be annoying. Don't do that. That's a weird way to go. But it's growing your world and creating ways that your world is actually different so that it feels real. So that you're not just a bunch of people in a completely plain room doing stuff. If what's happening in your story could happen in Alaska and it could happen in New York, that's a little weird, because your world's not really built up that way, right? Like, something happening in Alaska is going to happen different than it would happen in New York, unless you have a secret government facility and everyone's locked in the basement. But even then, your secret government facility is going to have some flavor to it. You know, a dull world it's boring. Your world has to kind of, it's more exciting too when the world changes. So like, your flat world, it's boring, and people aren't going to care about it quite so much. But getting your world to grow, to become something more than just, they're in the land of Gooblegob, and in Gooblegob everyone says hello on Tuesdays, but no other day. It's silly. That's a really bad example too, and I apologize for naming something Gooblegob and saying what I said. But your world needs to be developed like a character. As a character, characters have needs. Characters grow. Characters change. So the character might, say your character stays the same, the world around him might change. He might be adapting to a changing world. It's really hard to think of any time in human history where things weren't changing. If you look back at the Roman Empire, you can look at tons of moments where things are changing. Almost every history documentary you watch about the Roman Empire, because it spanned for so long, they're talking about, oh, this was the period of this, and it was the transition period into this, and this period that it transitioned to was the transition into this. It's the same thing now. The period we're in is the transition into the next period, and the next period is the transition in the next period. Things don't stagnate. The world isn't ever just, this is how the world is right now. No, it's going to change. It's going to evolve. Everything is constantly changing and evolving. There's a new thing in the world every year. There's a new thing. Seasons are different every year. You know, everything is just a little bit different as years go on. And really having those changes in the world, it makes the world feel real. Having little details about stuff like that, it makes the world feel real. Hopefully that helped somebody. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's also a writer, and we were talking about kind of world building and things like that, and I just thought maybe it'd be a good video if it could help somebody out to kind of get an idea of how to approach world building, and it's really treat it like a character. It's going to have features like a character. It's going to have things like a character is going to have. It's going to have not quite emotions, but your world's going to have a feel, and it's going to affect other things. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. Don't give me a thumbs down. And tell me why if you don't like it, or tell me why if you do like it. Or just get grumpy and go away. Sorry, that's okay either way. Yeah, you have a great day. Thank you for watching.